Mazzio is a member of the Sicilian mafia family, and Laura is a sales director. She does not expect that on a trip to Sicily trying to save her relationship, Mazzio would kidnap her and give her 365 days to fall in love with him. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new Netflix review for a very interesting film, a very erotic film, 365 DNI, also known as 365 Days. I'm gonna let you all know what I thought about this movie and let you know if it's worth checking out. But before we dive into the spoiler-free review, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on my social media accounts. If you're new to this channel, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And last but not least, if you wanted to get a little hot and steamy, if you all decided to press play on this film, let me know what you thought of it. Did it give you what you were looking for? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's have some fun discussions in the comments below. So, as I always like to do in my movie reviews, especially for films that I had no idea were things that were coming out or even available. So, this long story short, I'm pre-recording this. Today's Tuesday. So, on a Tuesday afternoon, making emails, following up on calls for work and whatnot. And I'm just kind of scrolling through Netflix and, I'm looking at trending now. What are the most popular movies and shows available on Netflix? And we obviously know, as you can see on the screen now, 13 Reasons Why was going to be #1, which I reviewed that show. Check out my thoughts of 13 Reasons Why, the 4th season. But right behind it is #2. 365 DNI. So before, I don't read the synopsis when I come about films that I don't know anything about. I try not to read the synopsis, try not to read the trailer. I'm just like, hey, why is this movie #2? Let's check it out. And as I like to do in these reviews, I always start off with the positives. Always try to find, it's always a fun thing, right? Even when you're not necessarily a fan of a certain movie or a show, it's always fun to try to find something positive to say and be, authentic about it. So I'm going to be honest with you all. There were some positives I took away from this movie. First and foremost, again, this is based on a novel, an erotic novel, and I know that there's an audience for that, me not being one of them, but I know there's a big audience for that. It's been around forever, right? So I will say the film does a pretty good job of creating that fantasy life that people, men and women, want when they read these books, when they watch these movies. They just put themselves in the character's position, right? And the movie does a good job of creating this luxurious lifestyle, the airplanes, the private jets, the money, the clothes, the ball, the mansions, all that stuff is there, right? And the film does look good. I was very impressed by the production aspect of this movie in regards to, of course, it's hard to make Sicilia, Italy look bad, but you can, and this film didn't do that. I thought that they really brought a pretty good, look and style to this film. It's not necessarily stylized, but it's just like, hey, they paid attention to the actual filmmaking in regards to the cinematography. I thought was fine in this film, and again, it creates that fantasy element that people look for in these type of films. So I'll applaud it for that. The chemistry between our two leads, we got our Laura character and Massimo character, and of course this film is getting the comparisons to 50 Shades Grey, which I've only saw the first film of that franchise, and I would have to say I thought the chemistry here in this movie was a little bit stronger than what we got in that, at least the one film. I don't know if the chemistry got better with Mr. Grey and whatever Dakota Johnson's character name was, but I thought the chemistry was pretty strong. So, and I'll just get right into it in the positives. Again, this is a erotic film, so as a film reviewer, if I'm going into this film knowing that it's going to have those type of moments in it, let's talk about the moments. Of course, it's taboo, right? I don't want to get this video pulled off of YouTube, but of course, sex and all that stuff is taboo in America, and at least in the States. We don't like to talk about sex. We don't like to talk about all that stuff. But let's talk about the three. Yes, there are 3 scenes, sexual scenes, sex scenes in this movie. There were other scenes that involve sexual pleasures or whatnot. But I thought for the most part, the actors did a good job in those scenes. If I were to say, I always look for these. I have like pet peeves in movies. One being when people are on the phone and you could tell they're obviously not on the phone. They're pretending that they are. I think that sometimes actors do a terrible job of doing so. When actors are pretending to eat and drink water, I think that sometimes some actors really overplay it or they're not natural enough in those scenes. Or one of my favorites is when actors are pretending to wake up from sleep. I always roll my eyes when actors do a terrible job at that. But when it comes to sex scenes, you can tell when certain actors are very uncomfortable around that. Me being someone that actually went to school for film and video, and I actually directed a movie, a comedy called Date.com. I have to find it somewhere in one of my hard drives, but it was a comedy about a gentleman looking for dates online, and one of the first scenes of that film that I made was a scene of my main character pleasuring himself. I'll just say that. Now, obviously, it wasn't any method acting going on, but it was an uncomfortable scene to shoot. Luckily, my lead actor in that film that I made was funny and comfortable with it, and and obviously alluding to what he was doing. But, you know, like I said, and when you're watching certain movies, you can tell that people are uncomfortable about the scene that they're in. Which, another side tangent, is so funny that as I was watching this movie, I was reading an article that moving forward, sex scenes in movies will be CGI'd and they're going to have VFX. Now, this is something that they've done in movies that I've seen in the past, and this has been going around forever, but it's going to be sort of a requirement now, especially with COVID-19, that movies moving forward and shows, when there's even kiss scenes and definitely sex scenes, they're going to have special effects in those scenes. So I thought that was crazy. But going back to what I was saying in regards to the positives, I thought both actors really showed that they were having sex, and you know, they did a good job in those scenes. I'll say that in regards to the acting, at least, not the necessarily the sexual stuff going on. But if you are looking for that hot and steaminess, I think you're gonna get that in this film. So those were the things I can say was positives about it. Now, first thing off the bat in my negatives, I always try to look at films. I don't try to look at films with my personal beliefs or my moral compass, but it's kind of hard to support a film or give good things to say about a film that, I don't want to say romanticizes, but has a certain theme of it's okay to be kidnapped and forced into loving someone. I can't support that, so I'll try to put that aside in my negatives, but that is something I do not support with this movie. But in regards to, I know what I was getting into with this film in regards to, once I kind of got the vibe, the gist of it, the first 10 or 15 minutes without reading the synopsis, like, okay, I know where this is going. But, you know, the film, the script, the dialogue, again, I wasn't expecting Shakespeare or an Aaron Sorkin script or a Tarantino type of dialogue, but the dialogue is pretty cringy in this movie, as well as the actual structuring of the movie, the pacing, you know, all the different editings. That stuff is very mediocre, to say the least. Again, the acting's fine, and the chemistry I thought between two actors were fine, but there are some moments that, not the sexual moments, again, I thought they gave a pretty good performance in those moments, but in regards to just the day-to-day life, them shopping, and then, you know, him essentially abusing her, and their first one of 3 sex scenes, the first big sex scene, which was like this, it was like the pivotal scene of the film, because it was literally like a 10-minute sex scene. When that scene does happen, the fact that how they led up to it, and essentially, I won't give it away or spoil it, but after she was thrown off of somewhere, then they lead into that. I just, like, things like that just didn't make sense to me as far as structurally. Not giving too much away, but this film could have been maybe more interesting if, again, for those that seen the film, when the film opens and we get that scene, what if Laura was the father or the daughter of that particular person that's involved in the family, this mafia war, and he kidnaps her because of that war, and then we see them kind of maybe fall in love, or they don't like each other at first. I would have thought that would have been a more interesting script versus what we got in here. Again, this is very Beauty and the Beast type of which I'm actually not a fan of Beauty and the Beast, just because even when I was younger, I'm like, this isn't right that he's taking her and she's essentially falling in love with a kidnapper. Again, it's very Stockholm-ish syndrome going on here. But either way, again, just basing the film on the film, the script isn't that great, the dialogue isn't that great, and the pacing is really not there. This is about an hour and 40 minutes or so. And again, based on this being an erotic film, it takes about, the first sex scene isn't until an hour into the movie. So based on those standards alone, again, this isn't Nymphomaniac or any hardcore type of sexual film that you might think it is. So just based on that, it kind of lacks in that department, I'll say that. Even though those 3 sex scenes were pretty hot and steamy, is not what you might think it is in regards to an erotic film. But I'll just kind of wrap up this review. Again, there's certain films, and also too the song choices. Again, I know this is a Polish film, and again, I know here in America there's certain musics and songs that we like and to hear in movies, and it kind of gets us in the mood, it kind of sets the tone. But the song choices in this film were very jarring, not even including the sex scenes music, but just the scenes in general. The poppiness of it just kind of threw me out of the film a lot of times. But as I digress, kind of wrapping on this review, the film, I'm not the target audience, and I can realize that, but just basing on the film, this isn't a really well-made film, but I'll applaud it for the sex scenes and for the chemistry at times and the look and the feel. And again, this is based on a fantasy life. If I'm not going to be a hypocrite, Ana de Armas, Zoe Kravitz, or Gal Gadot, if they called me right now and said, hey, I want you to live this lifestyle with me, I would be on the first plane there and doing so without being kidnapped. But based on, again, it being this kind of fantasy type of book, and based on these fantasy erotic books, I think they did a good job there. But as a movie, it's not that great. So with that being said, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. give it a watch if you want to look for some interesting, hot and sexy scenes, but don't look for a really good movie. I'll just say that. So 2 out of 5 for 365 DNI. Let me know if you all decided to watch it, and if you saw the film, let me know what you thought about it. Again, I know this is a Polish film. If you live in Poland and you like that film, let me know what are some of the things that you liked about it. And if you want to see a sequel to this film, because apparently there might be a sequel in the works. So let me know your thoughts about that, which I can actually see how they can do a sequel, because that last scene doesn't mean that particular thing happened to her. Maybe she was kidnapped. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts for those that have seen this movie. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Check out all my videos I did this past weekend for Shirley, The Last Days of American Crime, 13 Reasons Why, and of course keep an eye out for my content this week. We got a lot of big 3 releases coming out this Friday, from The King of Staten Island to Artemis Fowl to the Five Bloods, and also I'm going to be doing a watch along, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you all are staying safe. Thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you soon.